and gentlemen, we're coming at you live from episode 117 of Life on the Rocks with your host, Connor LaRocque. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is Mr. Mathieu Girouard. How you doing, Mathieu?
Amazing, Connor. Thanks for having me on the show.
Anytime. You know, I always love bringing young slinging guns on the show, that young entrepreneurs in the field, ready to go. For anybody in the city of Greater Sudbury who doesn't know Mathieu, this gentleman is an independent financial advisor. There's a number of things we want to get into here, but first, as I always like to start this off, what got you started in business?
Fantastic question, Connor. You know what? Came from humble beginnings. I was a man that kind of grew up watching Dragon's Den, watching businesses grow their businesses, sell their businesses, and I saw, wow, what can money do for me, you know? And how can I impact others to get better with their finances? I really wanted to jump into something that I can go out and help our families, our communities out by providing them that financial education that we don't get from schools. I went through a business program and they never taught us a thing about business for the personal level. How to use my finances, how to save, invest, how to talk about insurances, mortgages. Personal finance is something that's never been really discussed, even at the university level. And it's a pandemic of just education. And for me, it's a huge passion of mine to really bring that awareness out and just help families out there.
Totally, and it's one of those things. I mean, the education system alone, what is the stat? Is that 70% of Canadians live paycheck to paycheck? They don't have a financial plan, they're not organized. And I mean, the education system alone, in a lot of cases we talk about this, is outdated. So just to break into it, before we talk about the education system, so independent financial advisor, what do you offer? Like, what are your services as a business so we can get that out there for the audience?
Yeah, great question. So as an independent advisor, I run almost like a brokerage. And brokerage is just a fancy way of saying that I don't own any of my own products or services. Instead, I'm actually partnered with well over 60 different companies, whether some of the top investment firms, banks, insurance companies, mortgage lenders. And what I do is I sit down with my clients, reverse engineer, figure out what are their dreams in life, what are their goals in life, and they might need a little bit of help on investment to make and save more money, maybe pay less in taxes. Plan for the future might be kids' education, purchase of a new home, estate planning, like what happens when you pass away. It's not something anyone wants to talk about, but it's really important what happens to your assets and how much of it do you want to give it away to the government. So we sit down with my clients and I might pick and choose one product from one company, maybe another product from another, and a really custom tailored plan for my clients.
No, I like that. And there was another example you used. So something like, you look at the market today, it's like Uber and Airbnb. Like, give us that example you provided before about how you operate like that as an advisor.
The beginning of the real disruptors in the technology world. You see companies like Uber. You can either ride an Uber or it could be an Uber driver and get paid for it. Or look at accommodations like Airbnb. You can stay at an Airbnb or you can rent out your home and get paid for it. The exact same thing is happening in the financial world where you can become the agent helping out people just as much as you are the client learning and understanding how finance works and getting yourself in a better position. So being an independent broker is essentially that, disrupting the financial world and giving people options and access to information and to the different companies that you wouldn't get traditionally.
No, I like that too. And for the audience out there, something important to note with Matt is that, so it's one of these things where they build an active team of people that are going to be becoming advisors, as well as offering the products to families, to individuals, to give them the financial wisdom and advice to move forward. So to transition off of that, let's go back for a second. So the education system, I've been very passionate over the last several years. I'm all about the networking we do in university. If you have a plan when you're coming out of high school, it's great. But what happens most of the time is that these students are confused. They don't know, should I go down this path? Should I follow my passion? Should I do this? Talk to me about that and how you kind of add some of that certainty when we say, hey, let's build out this plan, so financially, but then also kind of give you guidance in terms of your personal development.
Yeah, fantastic. A lot of people, you kind of pressure when you're coming out of high school, like, what do you want to be in life? What do you want to do? And these are some tough questions. And for some people, hey, you get it right away. Hey, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. But some people just don't really know. And in the world where you're not sure, business is always a solution. It's very general. You can go in medicine through business. You can go through the government through business. You could be out in the ocean through business. And understanding that pathway leads people to go, you know what, I'll go into business, figure out my path. And obviously, as you're deciding what the career path is, do you want to get into a 9 to 5? A lot of people go into traditional school universities. I did myself, came out of university and I said, hey, I worked all this time. Let's get myself a solid job at a company and I'll get paid well just because I put in all that time to get that certificate, that piece of paper to get at the end of the day. But what a lot of people don't realize is they jump into a 9 to 5 job realizing that they're getting micromanaged. They have to ask their boss for vacation. They're capped, right? You'd think you'd have some growth to get CEO, but how many CEOs do you know working at 9 to 5? Very few. The best way to become the CEO of your life is having your own business. So having your own business breaks that chain. You get that freedom, you get that control, and then you get that uncapped potential because the full fruit of your efforts, you'll get back. And I'm sure you're well aware, Connor, right? You got your own business, and man, look at you. You become a great successful guy interviewing huge legends in the UFC and in our community. And that is all possible because you have your own business.
It's true, and it's one of those routes where, for the audience out there as well, it's entrepreneurship is very tough. There's a lot of risk involved. There's a lot of responsibility you have to manage. And one of the biggest things, though, I always looked at it at the end of the day. I said to myself, I said, well, you know, what are my drivers? You know, and for me, it's not that I wouldn't listen to a boss specifically. I was always respectful. It's just I wanted to do something that would help me create my own path. So in Matt's case, it's the same thing where you have an opportunity right now, so you can bring advisors in. So the two things. So I want you to walk through this business model because I think it's important because it's disruptive, it's new. Let's talk about the recruitment side. So what are some of the things that you want to train these individuals on? You're looking for people actively to do what?
You know, one of the biggest things I look for are ambitious people like ourselves that see the value of having that full control, that want to have that flexibility in their lives. A lot of times you realize that when you're working a 9 to 5 job, you have to go in and sometimes you miss out the most important things in life that happens in your family. Either your kids' first steps or the events that happen at schools, you miss out on those because you have responsibilities elsewhere, outside of your control. By having full control, I love talking to people that want to get that back, that want to have that full control, to be there for those moments, to be there for their family when needed. That is the one and foremost key that I look for in people that have that drive and that ambition to go that extra step. The rest of it, it's skill set's easy. If they have the right mindset, they want to have that extra, they want to make an impact for themselves and the community. These are some of the values that I'm looking for when I'm looking at recruiting.
So that's great. I mean, that's important because you want to have, like I'm always say, it's like as long as you have the right attitude, you hire the rest. You can train the rest. You can build these people, build some character. So I want to cross over on that side. So that's on the recruitment end. So when you bring people in and you want to build them up as entrepreneurs and leaders. More so on the service end though. So if I were to come to you and approach you, so again we talk. You can offer mortgage advice. You can offer some tax planning, estates. Like walk us through that a little bit. I want to kind of get the audience out there to see what we offer. So if there is things that you can help with, that they're there.
Yeah, honestly, the best way to look at it is the comparison from just your regular bank advisor. You go into a bank advisor and you can only do so much, right? They'll give you a proper plan for a savings plan, or put you in products like GICs that unfortunately are secure but might not get you where you need to go. They don't offer the full picture view of what's going on in your life.
Right.
From the bank level, you might not get an insurance view. They might not really look at your mortgage and see the full picture of what's going on with your kids, what's going on with you, what's going on with any sort of debt that you might be carrying. Working with someone like myself in a brokerage standpoint, independent, I'm really able to look, it's kind of like looking at the box when you're building a puzzle. I get to see the full box, and all I need to do is put the right pieces together to make that puzzle fit, And as my clients' lives at the end of the day, if you're looking at the traditional way, right? For investments, you got your bank guy, you might have a guy for your mortgage, you might have a different guy for your insurances, but what are the odds that these three guys are having meetings together to really understand what's going on with their mutual client?
Right.
They'll never do that.
Right.
So instead, I have a full picture view ensuring that my clients get to where they need to go more efficiently, faster, and I build that relationship with them where we're always talking either by yearly or every time that something happens in their life. I'm always there. I am one call away. Like I always have my cell phone and all my clients can call me at any point.
No, that's really good. I think it's important that you get that full picture so it's a deeper understanding where you can say, okay, this, I would focus on this. It kind of keeps you in an easy spot where you have access to those resources and assets. So transitioning off that question, there's something else I want to ask you. I think it's important is that were you born an entrepreneur? Like you think it was innate in your nature to just become one, or did just through time and trial and error and going to school did you figure it out?
Fantastic question, Connor. Like honestly, I think everyone has it in them to go one way or another to be an entrepreneur. For myself, anyways, I got it through my parents. So my mom, when I was born, she decided to leave her practice and to build a business. She had a bed and breakfast. She had her own dating service. So my mom was the entrepreneur in our household, and I kind of fed off that.
Right.
Seeing her live, in my home, working on her business. So I kind of seen it very young, what's it look like to be a business owner, the flexibility that's allowed her, right? For her, she's at home watching me as a kid, and she's getting paid for it at home. You know, she's
Right.
been there for me at all the special moments in my life. So I really got inspired from my mom, and I'm seeing like other legends when you see people on Dragon's Den, and I just grew up in that environment of business provides flexibility, control, and then all your dreams and goals can be achieved by being an entrepreneur.
Right. No, and it's true. It does comes with a lot of different responsibility, but it definitely is something that you can give it a shot. You go all in with it and see what happens. It's really good. So I like to see the context of that. And then so after walk us through this a little bit too. So you traveled quite a bit as well, and that taught you a lot of different things. Walk us through that and how that's kind of tailored into your approach on how you handle people, how you look at your life and perspective.
Yeah, man, like really. Well, I grew up from Sudbury, Ontario, right? And a lot of us here, a lot of the people you might see, they have tunnel vision, where they're very small-minded. They look at the small community, but you got the whole world in front of you. I got that exposure again, thanks to my parents. You know, a right upbringing, right environment, and I got to travel when I was younger, and I got to see all the different cultures, the diversity, the different people out there, and that just developed in me, right? Through university, I decided to go abroad for my studies. So I went to France for a year, and then I went to China afterwards for 5 months. Traveled around, discovered these new cultures, and by seeing all that, really built my perspective and kind of grew my maturity. So when I'm speaking with people, they go, "Wow, that guy has perspectives. That guy understands things that most don't, and have a higher mindset." So traveling, all in all, is a huge gateway to open your eyes to what's going on in the world, and
Totally.
life outside your small town is so much bigger.
What do you learn in China? That's a pretty interesting place to go.
Yeah, China was pretty wild. I worked in China at a hotel.
Right.
Learn a little bit of Mandarin.
Right.
You know, what I was doing there was helping out foreigners that were coming in Shanghai. They're coming in to travel, and I was kind of like the only white guy, if you would, helping them out, teaching English to the staff, showing the foreigners where to go, help them with any assistance. But being in person there allowed me to meet so many different people. You know, you end up playing bocce, you know, the little
Right.
ball game in Italians. And out there, I met a French guy, and it's pétanque.
Right.
He claims, no, bocce is the real name for it is pétanque. And
Right.
you go out and travel, and I ended up in tournaments for pétanque with the best in Denmark,
Yeah.
the best in Norway, the best of China. You wouldn't imagine what would happen, but just putting myself out there, man, there's so much this life has to give, and there's so much more.
I love that. No, and that's actually good. It's a great perspective builder. Did you? So I always like to talk to different entrepreneurs too. Did you grow up in a sports background by any chance? Because sometimes gives you a competitive edge too, where you're used to working with a team. You know how to cooperate, kind of like the military in a way. Do you ever come from a sports background?
Yeah, hey, I'm a Canadian boy, loved hockey growing
Right.
up, and here in Sudbury, there's rinks everywhere. So I grew up at a playground. We always played hockey. I got into a league, and he
Right.
got active. And honestly, my parents come from an active background, right? We always went skiing, and I just carried forward. And being active at the end of the day is so important for us just to be healthy, to be active helps with our mindset, and having I've gone through sports and being competitive, it just gives you that slight edge to want to just push yourself a little bit more, to push yourself a little bit more, to be better. Just every step to be a little bit better, and you'll get on your way to the path of greatness.
No, it's huge. What would you recommend to the younger generation right now? A lot of them, again, with social media, we're bombarded. We have so many different things. Your parents are telling you go to school, but then you're sitting over there and think, hey, maybe I should become an entrepreneur. What is your advice to the younger generation?
Yeah, social media is probably one of the best things that's ever happened. Obviously, there's a lot of mixed messages out there, and you gotta be wary of that. It's really easy to fall into a rabbit hole. But what I did, and what I definitely encourage any young people to do, is to look up for their idols. If you're looking to get into business, well, who are those top business guys they can find on social media?
Totally.
Like for me, I gravitated to Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, and he's a very outspoken entrepreneur type guy, always on social media, and you can kind of see his mindset, his work ethic, and just by watching people like him, people like even like Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, huge legends, by watching their videos, you can understand their mindset, and by watching hours and hours of it, you yourself will gain some of those attributes.
Totally. Do you like, so what are some of the books you'd recommend for maybe these younger guys? Any books specific?
Probably one of my favorites is Atomic Habits.
Right.
And Atomic Habits is a great one where you want to destroy or remove bad habits and put in place good habits. And the fundamental of the book is to go one step at a time. If you can better yourself 1% every day, if you do a little bit better than what you did yesterday, by doing that, that compounding effort will get you to where you need to be. And a prime example is they used cyclers in the book where they trained themselves, got a little bit better, looked at their training, how could we better our scheduling, what intensity, our diets, and by looking at how to destroy the small bad habits like watching TV or gaming too much,
Netflix,
you
yeah.
can reduce that a little bit, and if you put it back into yourself, investing into yourself, trust me, that small compounding effort will really build up and you'll become a much better person no matter which path you decide to take.
That's, I think, a big thing. We talk about finances, things, and the best investment you can ever make is in yourself, right? I think that's always the one on that side of it. So what would you say? So again, if you were to talk to some of these people thinking, well, should I become an entrepreneur? Should I not? What would you say to them?
It's not should or shouldn't, just do it. Try it. You only have one life, and through my experience and through all the other experiences of other entrepreneurs, if you look at it, who are the wealthiest people in the world, right? The top 1%. Maybe about a quarter of them inherited that money, but the other three quarters are business owners.
Totally.
Like, if you want to break that gateway to do anything you'd ever wanted to do in life, being a business owner is the key. There's tax savings and you'll get freedom and full control of your life. So making that attempt, either be a side hustle, right? You start something part-time, you still have to make that income from your job, but start something part-time, and that could replace your full-time job and give you anything you ever wanted. Just try. If it doesn't work, hey, try again. It's easy. You know what? Didn't work? Try again. But guess what? Every failure, there will be lessons from that. You just carry that forward until you hit that succeed. Even if you fail 100 times, if 100 and the first one works out, boom, your life completely changed forever.
One of the last questions I want to ask you, because I think this is important on that thing too. So talking about financial education, what would your advice be to people struggling financially?
Honestly, there's almost like 6 steps when you're looking at finances for yourself, right? The first step, cash flow, right? Is the money coming in versus the money coming out, right? This is stuff you're looking at budgeting. Am I spending too much at the restaurant? Am I spending too much on subscriptions? Am I spending too much on activities that are not that important? Too much Starbucks, right? People like to go for expensive drink. Why not buy it at the grocery store and make it at home?
Totally.
This simple stuff, right? And afterwards is debt, right? You're looking at using credit cards or loans or whatever. Next spot is debt, making sure that you have very low bad debts. So bad debts is stuff that have high interest rates versus good debts, stuff that are smaller and are used for investments that grow in assets like mortgages for a home. That's a good debt to have. Afterwards, emergency savings, right? If you don't have an emergency savings, what do you end up using? Debt to pay it. If you're using debt, then guess what? You're going to eat up in your cash flow, right? So building up emergency savings. After that, proper protection. Like insurances. People don't like talking about insurances, but guess what? Most people that get cancer survive, right? Completely change their life. You may no longer be able to work, but you're still alive. So you need some sort of protection for in case something happens, something that could help your family out in that time of need during the biggest storms. It's kind of like your foundation. After proper protection is accumulation, right? Accumulation is investing your money, making your money grow for you. And that's a huge step. But you got to have proper protection, right? If a storm comes through, it's going to wipe out your investments. Your TFSA, gone, right? Trying to just help you throughout that period of struggle. And lastly, estate planning. This is wealth preservation, making sure that your family, your next generation, doesn't lose out from all of your efforts. The last 40, 50 years of your life accumulating money doesn't go straight to the tax man.
Right. I think that's huge. I think those points, the 6 lessons like that, that's actually incredible. Like to see it in that sense and how it all flows together. I really appreciate that. That's something I think our audience would really take away from in so many senses. My question to you to finish this off in a good way. So if somebody's looking to either start planning, they want to start getting some financial education, where do they find you, Matt?
Easy. You can find me on all the social medias.
We'll put a link right here as well.
Right, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I got a Facebook page up. I've got my website. A lot of different ways where you can just give me a call, send me an email, and I'll get back to you quickly. Like within a day, you'll get an answer from me.
Oh no, that's great. And honestly, I think you've done a great job. Do you have any closing remarks you want to finish with?
No, honestly, just love being on here on your show, Connor. Connor is an amazing guy that's continuously growing and making a huge impact in our community in Northern Ontario and abroad. Deals out in Europe and down in the USA. Man, you're just starting and you got a huge future ahead of you, and I'm just excited to be a part of it.
The same goes to you, Matt. So everybody, we're going to put a link here on the in the bio if you want to get in contact with him, looking for financial education, things like that. We'll have a link right here. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thanks a lot, Connor.
Anytime, brother.